Trump is silent as Putin strikes his second biggest attack of the war. Let's tune into the video and see what's going on out here in these streets.
As of now, the president of the United States has not said a word after Putin launched one of his most powerful strikes against Ukraine. More than 20 people in Kyiv killed by hundreds of Russian missiles and drones. And as Trump was silent throughout the day, we did hear from the White House. This is what we heard.
Perhaps both sides of this war are not ready to end it themselves.
Whoa, both sides. Putin struck Ukraine overnight, hitting Ukraine with 598 drones and 31 missiles. This is not a both sides issue. Not last night, not tonight, and not since February 2022, when Putin invaded a sovereign country with the intent to topple its government and take it over and make it part of Russia. But maybe the both sides talk comes as a result of the fact that Trump has publicly given Putin space on his war.
I believe Vladimir Putin wants to see it ended.
He says he wants peace. He does.
I believe Putin wants to do it. I think President Putin wants peace.
Here's the reality, though, just to say it in black and white. Putin clearly doesn't want peace. He wants victory. So if those two things come together, sure, but otherwise victory is what he wants. Peace and victory are two different things. Take the statement that you just heard from July 15th, where Trump says of Putin, quote, he wants peace. He does. 24 hours after Trump said that, Putin launched a massive drone attack across Ukraine, striking Ukraine's energy infrastructure. And less than 2 weeks after Trump literally rolled out the red carpet for Putin, right? We're not being figurative here. It literally happened in Alaska, clapping for the Russian president, gave him a ride in the presidential limousine. You have Putin overnight launching the second biggest air assault on Ukraine since the beginning of the entire war. 21 people were killed, children. Putin also targeted buildings belonging to him.
It's a respect thing, I think. I think that's just how we gotta say it. It's a respect thing. It's no hard feelings. We understand what's going on, but it's like, let's keep it cool. Let's keep it cool. We trying to end this. Let's keep it cool.
America's
that's
allies,
what I'm laying that as.
And today, America's allies did stand up.
Some people might hate that.
They didn't hold back. French President Emmanuel Macron posting 629 missiles and drones in a single night over Ukraine. This is Russia's idea of peace, terror, and barbarism. Mark Carney, the Prime Minister of Canada, by murdering when he should be talking, Putin demonstrates in the most horrific manner that his mission to subsume the Ukrainian people under his tyranny continues. And the president of Finland, Alexander Stubb, who of course has the largest land border in Europe with Russia, says the only thing President Putin understands is power. The only thing that can bring him to the negotiating table is pressure. And yet from Trump, public silence. Now, while Trump surely will say something, surely he's going to come out, he's going to post, he's going to say something, expect that will happen. But his behavior so far all day is consistent with Putin's red carpet welcome. And that may be why one European leader, the president of Portugal, said this yesterday of Trump. Quote him, said, the leader of the world's greatest superpower is objectively a Soviet or Russian asset. He's been serving as an asset. It's a pretty incredible thing to say. That is a sitting leader of a European country saying that. Now, tonight, Trump's team is approving $825 million of extended range missiles to Ukraine. But even that headline comes with an important caveat. Trump has been talking for months about Ukraine's need to be able to strike inside Russia. He was saying all of that, but what he was doing was different. The Wall Street Journal's reported that Trump's Defense Department during that time was blocking Ukraine from using long-range missiles. But Trump may very well soon speak out and talk tough. He has done that before.
But we're very, very unhappy with him, and we're going to be doing very severe tariffs. There will be very severe consequences. It will not be a world war, but it'll be an economic war, and it's going to be bad for Russia.
So he said over those things.
He did say those things. But at the same time, you know, he has to be honest. We got to be honest here. Like, do we want to ramp this up? Russia versus Ukraine, are we really trying to ramp this up even more? Are we trying to stop this thing? Because when it's all said and done, Russia's way bigger than Ukraine. And if Ukraine really wants to survive, I would think they would want to say, all right, what do we have to do here? Because this is a battle of land. This is a battle of land, and every country is doing it. So what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? America's already helping. They're supplying the weapons to NATO, and NATO is breaking it down into passing it off to, that's how it's going. But at the end of the day, like, are we still going to try to keep ramping this thing up, or are we gonna try that?
Obviously, over many months. The important thing to note, though, is that so far all of that has been words. So far, Trump's threats have been all bark and no bite. Because as we speak,
I feel like
right
they're getting
now,
richer
very
off the
second,
military
there
anyway.
is a bipartisan bill that
It's
has
like,
been ready to go for a long time.
Put tough
That senators
sanctions
say
on them,
would
but then they're
really
still
put the nail in the
producing
coffin on
and
Russia's
making more
economy.
weapons.
Hard to imagine there's still sanctions to be put on. That's kind of another conversation, but there are, and so here we are. This bill is sponsored by Trump's good ally, Lindsey Graham. And in fact, the bill itself is backed by more than 80 senators. It doesn't get more bipartisan than that. And in this
Always
day and
making
age,
deals.
literally nothing gets
Always
more
making
bipartisan than that. That is a miracle. And Democrats and Republicans are united on slapping 500% tariffs on any country that buys Russian energy. That's India and China. That's BITE. This bill has been at Trump's fingertips, and he has so far refused to sign it.
500%.
Elena Treen is out
tariffs.
front live outside the White House to begin our coverage. And Elena, we have not yet heard from Trump today on all of this.
500%
Obviously, we're now
tariffs.
14, 16 hours past the second worst set of
On
attacks
China.
on Ukraine by Putin since the war
Wasn't they
began.
just
What's
saying
going on?
that's a bad thing when he did
Well, part
like
of this, Aaron, I think, is
125%?
frankly the president is very frustrated. I know we've heard that repeatedly from White House officials, but I think at the core of this is he doesn't have anything to tout for the work that he has put into this. I mean, when I talk with White House officials, they privately acknowledge that the speed and kind of urgency that they were moving after that Alaska summit with the Russian president has completely slowed. And there is still, from my conversations with Trump administration officials, the president has not made up his mind yet on whether or not he wants to actually impose sanctions or any sort of consequences for Moscow if they do not agree to end the war. From my conversations, he's kind of gone back and forth on wanting to continue to try and directly insert himself into the conversation of setting up that bilateral meeting that he had promised European leaders who all came to the White House just a week or so ago, or leaving this now to Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky to work out. And I think what's really important as well is, and that montage I think sums this up perfectly, is we did hear the president last week say that he was giving Russia 2 weeks before he would make a decision on sanctions, on these consequences. Again, we've heard him say that multiple times, so it's unclear how seriously the Kremlin is actually taking this. But I also asked him last week in the Oval Office directly. He had mentioned, perhaps there's a chance he does nothing. I said, is that actually a serious possibility that you would do nothing to, kind of punish Russia for not ending the war? And he said, yeah, but we'll have to see how this goes. And I think his silence here, and I'd note we did hear from the press secretary earlier today saying that we should expect some sort of answer or response from the president on this, that he was watching the developments of these Russian attacks, one of the deadliest nights for Ukraine since this war began. He was watching it intently, that he would speak on this later. We have not yet heard from him. I haven't gotten an answer if we're actually going to, but I do think all of this stems from his frustration with not being able to make any real progress.
Yeah, of course. And you say sometimes silence says that.
I don't see this war ending anytime soon. Honestly, they're making too much money off of it, even though it's killing so many people. It's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Ukraine is much smaller than Russia. So that's obviously why Russia is attacking. And they want some of their land, they want some of their territory. And it's just being honest with it. It's a play of war. That's how the war is. That's how the war game goes. It's unfortunate that this is a part of humanity, to be honest with you, but this is where we're at. when it comes to this life that we live. Yeah, let me know y'all thoughts about this down in the comments below.